This is video number 4 for Access Module 3 in the Shelly Cashman book on Microsoft Office 365. We're on page 3-32. There are no specific instructions in the section on updating a table that contains validation roles, but we just made some changes in the vendors table. Let's go ahead and double click on that. And the place where we made some changes was we only allowed certain values in here. And the values are listed right here to keep us from making a mistake. Now, what happens if you don't want to do that? What if you want to try something else? So let's back up here. Let's just try XXX, hit the Enter key, and we get an error message. We're not allowed to do that. So we have to click on OK, and we have to put something else in there that matches something on the list here. Let's go over here and try typing in a value that is greater than 1,000. 1,000 was the limit. Now I'm going to type in 1,001 penny and hit Enter. And again, error message telling me that my number is too big. So that's what happens when you put validation rules in. And this is where the validation message shows up, is in the dialog box that pops up when you type in an invalid value. Okay, let's click on OK. Now I put those new values in a brand new row. There is no record 7 yet. So it thinks I want to add a record 7, and I'm going to try to click off of record 7, and Access is not going to let me do that. The reason it's not going to let me do that is because there are some required fields that I have not yet filled in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in some dummy values for those required fields, and then I'm going to save the record just by clicking off of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the record. And I'm just going to hit escape on this one, so it'll go back to its previous value. So I'm going to put an X in there, an X in there, an X in there. I don't know how many of these are required. And I'm going to click down on the new row, and then I'm going to go up here. I'm going to select the entire row, right-click, and choose Delete Record. LCS always warns you when you're about to delete a record. We definitely want to delete this record, though, so go ahead and click on the Yes button. And that bogus record is gone. Now let's flip over to page 3-34. We want to open the vendors table in Datasheet View and ensure that the navigation panel is closed. We're already open in Datasheet View, but let's close the navigation panel over here. Click on the street address for the vendor whose ID number is 2. So here's the street address. We want to go to the right of the letter N. Go to the right once. Now we're to the right of the letter N. Now we can edit, and we want to put Boulevard there. So we need a space first. And hit Enter. And he tells us to resize this column. Let's just get our double-headed arrow here and double-click. And now the column is as wide as it needs to be. I'm not sure why we did that. We've already done that before. Save the changes to the layout. Let's click on the Save button up here and then close the table. Click on the X here to close the table. Now let's go to the top of page 3-35. We want to open the vendors table in Datasheet View. So let's open up our navigation pane over here. Let's double click on the vendors table. Close the navigation pane. Go to product type for the third record. So product type for the third record is this one right here. We want to change that to MC. We can either type it in if we want to, or the easy way is just click on the down arrow, select MC from the drop-down list. Continuing with number 2, it says in a similar fashion, change the values on the other record to match that shown in figure 3-53. And that change is to take record number 4 and change its product type to SUP. So here's record number 4. And let's go to its product type here, click on the down arrow, change it to SUP, and close the table. Now let's flip over to page 3-36, and let's look at that table at the top. Treatment number is a multi-valued field. We're allowed to have more than one treatment specified for each appointment. We specified the legal values for that in the previous video. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to enter those values into the table. So we want to open the appointments table. So let's open up our navigation pane over here. Let's double click on appointments. The next bullet item says that since the patient IDs were changed in the patients table in an earlier module, there need to be some corrections to the appointments table. So before entering the treatment numbers, change the data in the appointment table's patient ID and owner ID fields to match those in figure 354. So appointment ID number 1, the patient is going to be patient P3. Appointment number 2 is going to be patient P-7. Appointment number 3 is going to be patient P-2. Appointment number 4 is going to be patient P-4. And appointment number 5, patient ID is going to be P-5. The other things we need to change are the owner IDs. Over here, the owner ID should be, we can keep the O in the hyphen, that just needs to be a 6. 8. Now, if you start typing on the 0-1 and it's highlighted like this, we're going to wipe it out. If you want to just edit it and just delete one character, you either have to click on the end there, like I just did with the mouse, and then backspace and change that to a 5. Or the alternative is, I'm going to hit the down arrow key and go to the next row. And the alternative is to hit function key F2. Function key F2 is kind of a universal edit command. It works in a lot of applications. It probably doesn't work in all of them, but it works in quite a few. So you can just press F2 and we can start editing what's in the cell there. That one doesn't need to be changed. Hit the down arrow. I'm going to hit F2 again and change the 2 to a 4. Now everything is updated to match the top of page 3-36. We're going to click the treatment number field on the first record. So here's the first record. Click on the down arrow. And you see we've got a bunch of things that we can turn on here. So with a multi-valued field with checkboxes, you can turn on more than one checkbox at the same time. So what we want is we want T3 and T10. Click on OK. Let's go down to appointment ID number 2. Hit the down arrow. We've got T4, T7, and T14. So we've already got T4 selected. Do T7 and T14. Click on OK. The next one is already T2, and that's all that we need. Go down to appointment number 4. T1 is already there, but we need to add T8. Click on OK. The last one, we need to add T7. So click on the down arrow and choose T7. Click on OK. And all those items that were on the list there that we were checking off are the values that we entered a little bit earlier when we were specifying the values for a multi-valued field. So when you do something like that, Access makes it easy for you to check multiple items, and you don't have to type anything in. You can just pick the items off of the list. He tells us to resize the treatment number column, so let's go up here and get the double-headed arrow, but I don't think anything's going to change. Nothing does. Save the changes to the layout by clicking the Save button on the Quick Access toolbar. Now, when I'm clicking the Save button up here, the changes that I made to the data are automatically updated. I never have to save those. But if I'm making changes to a form, if I'm making changes to the layout of a grid, if I'm making changes to a report, or if I'm making changes to the structure of a table, those changes do have to be saved. The author thinks we made a change in the width of the treatment number column, even though we haven't. So the reason he's telling us to save is to save any changes made to the layout of the appointments table. So the next time we open the table, it'll look the same. We'll have the same width for the treatment number column that we had now. And then let's go ahead and close the appointments table. That ends this section, so we'll stop this video here and we'll pick up with changing the appearance of a data sheet in video number 5.